Hi everyone, my name is Zhang Siling. If you didn't have eyes, even your ears would betray me. There aren't many things in this world that can faze me, no. Wait, that's a lie. Give me another try. Hi everyone, I'm Chinese. I'm sure you can all see upon your very first sight of me that I'm some form of Orient offspring. Japanese, Korean, maybe from the Philippines, but come on, does that really mean anything? Well, I can make rice as easily as breathing. I got a math award in grade 4. In my closet right now, there are 2 Chinese dresses and a pair of chopsticks for my hair. I can't speak a word of Mandarin. I haven't touched Chinese soil in 5 years. I'm an ex-honor student crashing in her last stretch of high school, the last stretch that really matters, and yet I'm hitting rock bottom with a squelch, a splatter. Do you see the gray matter on the walls? The ripped and flaking posters in the halls that get thinner and thinner every year, rice paper thin like the lies I always hear because they were lies. Well-intentioned, stupid lies, but they buzzed around my head like flies because I was a blossoming flower. No, scratch that. My mind was a blossoming flower. No, scratch that. My potential was a blossoming flower, and now the fruit's gone sour, and I find myself in the bottom of the bargain bin at Superstore because I can't find it within myself to hide my bruises, hide my sores, and the oranges and tangerines that surround. They're suffocating me with their bright and bubbly visage, the mirage of collection and perfection of the ideal resurrection of values from a golden age that left their golden children to decay, to rot, to putrefy, to waste away on the inside. And they will until their dying day. As long as they can sell themselves, avoid abandonment on those corporate shelves, it doesn't matter how bitter, how sour, how sadder they are, if they don't show a single scar. Well, I say screw that, open me up, take a look, I'm a vitriolic open book, so turn the page to chapter 8. When I entered into the very first grade and they told me, in more or less words they told me, that the only thing that I could save, if not my language, my heritage, my very place on this big, big, so big globe in space, the history, that was never mine to trace, no. What I should save were my grades. And the fissure of those words tucked away behind my lungs faded into softer hurts. Until we came to this age of revelry, of rebellion, and settling for no little thing like a future. And look, I pulled my stitches. My sutures were obviously not well hidden enough, and now I refuse to bluff, with my mouth wide open until the day you stuffed me, bruised and battered, into my final resting place. And even then, above my head, in rows and rows of the forgotten dead, there will lie a tombstone, its epitaph read, "Here lies Zhang Siling. No broken bones, no cavities worth filling, no significant scars, one birthmark, I think." But regardless of her unmarred skin, don't delude yourself to imagining that this flower lived an hour being bright for anyone else. Only her. She sold herself to only her. P.S. Sorry, high spitter, your currency holds no value here. We can't cash bullshit and return lost years. When I got up today, my parents didn't know I was going to swear in a room full of people. There are 2 things that have been true all my life. 1, I live to create. My mom can back me up on this. She used to bring Play-Doh to fancy dinners to keep me entertained. And 2, I love words. When I was 3, I had the entirety of Snow White memorized so that it looked like I could read Mandarin, which I can't. I even turned the pages at the right time. It was crazy. These 2 things came together when I discovered slam poetry. I was utterly captivated. I went on YouTube and spent hours devouring content. Slam poetry is an extension or a form of spoken word poetry. When you study poetry in English class, it's usually on a page. It's kind of boring. Spoken word gives those words palpable emotion, that's to say life. Having it performed shifts the focus from the aesthetic of the written word to the sound of speech. Slam takes that creative form and turns it into an event, a competition specifically. There are a few rules. Most importantly, no hate speech. No instruments, music, props, or costumes, hence my lack of slides. And 3, you have a time limit. In youth slams, that time limit is 3 minutes. And you know when I said I spent hours watching poetry? If you take a 2-hour sitting and divide it by 3 minutes, that's 40 poems, give or take. When you watch that much content in a short amount of time, you notice some patterns. Slam poetry and spoken word has been used extensively as an outreach tool all across North America, which means a lot of these young poets come from rougher backgrounds and belong to minority groups. This creates an incredibly diverse space that addresses diverse issues and experiences. I wanted in, And to get in, I realized I needed an edge, which got me thinking about my heritage. Race is a strong topic, and most people resonate with it because they don't have much of a choice. We're sort of born into it. The poem I opened with today was one of my first attempts at a polished piece. It gave me a way to think about how my background has affected my development. There are a lot of stereotypes surrounding Asians, that we're all superhumanly smart, we're inherently good at math, and we study at any given time of the day. We all eat rice, and we either own a violin or a black belt. We're all just budding doctors and engineers, and is this really just harmless, positive stereotyping? I don't think so. Stereotypes are limiting, and stereotypes taught me that I wasn't Asian enough, whatever that means. Through poetry, I was able to fight back. I was able to discover an alternative to what the world had taught me. I find that a lot of immigrant families in Canada share my dynamic, where their parents fight tooth and nail for their place in a place that caters to another demographic. And that's the norm they pass on to their children. To expect the worst can be good in moderation, but it also stomps out dreams. And the arts, I find, give those dreams back. The belief that working harder means giving up on luxuries such as art is dehumanizing. I have cried at every single poetry slam I've ever been to because poetry takes the human experience and paints it as beautiful. Sometimes we need other people to help us find the words we never knew we were looking for. We need someone else to approach topics we might have become desensitized to. That way, we can see it in a new light and it has a new shine. This is why I personally write and perform. Slam poetry is like a buffet for the heart, and someone might need my specific flavor. So, in the spirit of that thought, I would like to close with a newer poem that I've written called Heinz 57. For those of you who don't know, Heinz 57 in modern usage is a slang term for like a big mix and mash of stuff. In 1896, Henry J. Heinz introduced a new marketing slogan, now infamously known as the Heinz 57. Today, Heinz has been dead for nigh on 100 years, and his slogan has become an epidemic, a vast trend of eugenics, a systemic genetic uprooting of aesthetic, but this is not just a pandemic of medicine. It seeped into our very consciousness. A pompous hindbrain rejection is the new best friend of our children, and can you really see nothing wrong with that? In its original iteration, Heinz 57 was a list of variations and varieties. For example, red kidney beans number 4, mincemeat number 22, and ketchup number 43. So what does that make me? I used to joke that I was purebred Chinese, but I'm not even entirely sure what that means. According to Wikipedia, I'm Han Chinese, the dominant ethnic group in our numbers and our history, but even that's not quite so simple. See, I was born in the South, and according to mitochondrial DNA, the Han moved down from the north and mixed blood to birth children who shared haplogroups prevalent in the native groups of that general geographical gong show. Number 27, pure jellies. Not so pure anymore, not so. This shouldn't be a big deal in today's day and age. Barely anyone has pure DNA. There seems to be a lottery of European family trees that any one of my Caucasian classmates can pick from randomly to form the lineage of their family. Heinz 57, item number 53, distilled white vinegar, is a misnomer. Pure as the freshly fallen snow, though their skin may be, no one has a monopoly on pedigree. So how is it that the extremists see North America as a blank white sheet? To be preserved, pristine and clean, don't you dare make room for more foreign feet. Just because our brand of variety is branded in our melanin, skin deep, doesn't mean it's a good informant of the tapestries in our emotional departments, our heart compartments, the little cupboards overfilled with comforts and nuances, far more important than our ancestry. Number 56, Heinz Breakfast Week, gets a closer shelf than the family heirloom. Number 7, cream of green pea soup, sees far more tender, loving use than the pickled onion opinions of the ancestral tomb. We've made room for fresh blooms, a kitchen garden of new values, number 24 peanut butter, number 48 prepared mustard, clutched and cluttered lunchbox luster, small tokens of a blustered daily courage, and it's worth it to reciprocate. Invite new foods to your creative juices social, and you may find that you'll elevate your preference for local produce to an acquired taste for finer, refined, or imported things. Number 35, strained food, strained roots, strained textbook abuse. Skip the first couple chapters if you think it'll suit, but real life will school you in a history often refused. Whether you like it or not, bad news. Prepare to get your worldview bruised. Number 41, ripe olives, overripe so soon? Trash it if the best before date flew by when you weren't looking. The truth is simple, and back in '96, Mr. Heinz unwittingly realized it. In its original iteration, Heinz 57 was a list of variations and varieties. Years later, we don't care to separate its offerings. The fact is, we only care about its titling, and all those differences have conglomerated into one notoriety, H.J. Heinz Company, or greater humanity. I mean, Spanish Queen olives or Worcestershire sauce, you may have got different packaging, but that fact is not lost on me. We're a food group, a family.